Dave Thomas, walk through at the stadium today as the Riders get set to take on the Ticats. Is everybody cool as a cucumber, or can you tell that there's a big game 24 hours away and it's time to lock in?
A lot of focus, a lot of lock-in. Definitely for sure today at the walkthrough is it was business. It kind of, again, it's kind of a loose day, but it's a very much business day for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They took care of business, and then they had a little bit of an alumni event, which was pretty cool to see some of the former players of the Saskatchewan Roughriders head out onto the field. They had a bit of a meeting at center field, and then went their separate ways, and now we're set for Hamilton tomorrow. But yeah, business-like day today, and you can tell that there's something in the air right now at Mosaic Stadium.
Alumni event. Can you spill who was there on the field? Were they pep talking the team? What was happening?
Oh, wow. What they did, they have a little event with the alumni where they kind of bring them out onto the field. And so they do a kind of their own bring them out one by one. So Bob Poley was one of them that was there.
Oh.
Steve Mazurik was there. Then you had the Dan Clarks. You had Vincent Donaldson. You had Robert Mims. Long list of players that were there. And it was pretty cool to see them greeted onto the field by the team who kind of did the whole tunnel, and then they met at center field, had a few words, and like I said, broke up and went their own ways.
Lot of knowledge from some of those names you just dropped to be passed on to the current edition of Rider Nation. You want to talk about some people that have been through some battles. It's funny. I mean, you have your responsibilities as the play-by-play guy of the team, but when you see guys from those eras, it's easy to turn back into a fan, isn't it? Because those are the players that we grew up with.
When you're walking into the stadium and Dan Clark holds a door for you, it's like, hey, thanks. This is going to be a pretty cool day today. But yeah, absolutely. Your eyes are wide open. And again, I know I haven't mentioned everybody that was on that list, but boy, it was pretty cool to see. And I think it's really cool that Jeremy O'Day, again, I think he was probably very instrumental in it happening, but making sure that the players that built this franchise are recognized, given their just due, and then they pass that knowledge on to the next generation, the guys that are going to be taking battle tomorrow.
That's always great to see, because if today is the top of the pyramid, and we're always putting bricks on, those are the layers and the base underneath it from everything that came before that, no matter what era they came from. It's funny, even with the big announcement from the Riders earlier today, which we'll get to, 30 years ago was the last time they had a preseason game in Saskatoon. So if we went back to a 1995-96 roster for the Riders, if we Google that, there's going to be some interesting names that will stick out from over the years. That's good to see. Since Wednesday, you brought this up, and then we brought it up again yesterday. Red zone completion percentage. Ticats 1, Riders 7. Trevor Harris addressed it early in the week saying, yes, we're 7-1, but as an offense, we have goals. We want to be better in that as the season progresses. Is it from the lack of success so far? And it's hard to say lack of success when you've won 7 games and only lost once, but when they haven't converted touchdowns, what are you seeing? Is it scheme? Is it play call, lack of execution? Where did it fall off?
There's been some bad luck. Definitely. There's a couple of passes that normally would be complete slip through players' fingers. So that's number one. 2, twice the Riders in the red zone have been stopped on the goal line this year, which, again, when Tommy Stevens came in, nobody ever thought that was going to happen, but it's kind of happened twice. And again, I'm not going to suggest that I know anything better than what the play calls are, but to me, I think it's just a situation where the Riders get down there, put a lot of pressure on themselves to make that play, and everybody wants to make that play, and then just some unforeseen things are happening. So focus, attention to detail, that's what the Riders will tell you. It just comes down to that little thing, that little split second, like Nelson Lacombo in a conversation I had with him. Remember, he drops the interception in Montreal a couple of weeks ago. Well, that ball was wide open. What happened? Well, I started looking for my return before I squeezed the ball. It's just those little things that, again, are inevitable seemingly at every level of football. And if the Riders can put that to bed, they're going to be just fine in the red zone.
You talk about goal line stop last night in Winnipeg. Winnipeg comes up big against Ottawa. Was that in the first or the second quarter? Denying the Red Blacks a touchdown. And that pretty much was the difference in the game. And it's funny. You watch that, and you can't fault Khalil Pimpleton for returning a missed field goal. Was it 113 or 117 yards? But Dave,
Believable.
if only he could have taken about 30 extra seconds to run down the field, because instantly when they scored, I thought, oh no, you've left Winnipeg too much time. And they're going to get the ball back, and watch this. They just need a couple of plays. And then they got Sergio Castillo, and if they can kick a fin, that's how it played out. Because I think a lot of us in Rider Nation were Red-Black fans last night. We're watching that to be like, yes, here it comes. And there it goes.
Well, to react to what you're saying, number one, yes, that was a huge turning point when the Ottawa Red Blacks did not punch it in. And again, they were that close and they didn't do it. Number two, was that not the greatest game ever for fans that do not like analytics in sports? Because both coaches completely went against analytics in the final 90 seconds of that football game. And Winnipeg found a way to pull it out, because the analytics show you that, yes, Sergio Castillo, he's got a heck of a leg. We know that. He can nail it, right? But the analytics say in that situation, you should punt it. Now, I'm not second guessing any choice, because I'm one of those guys that, you know what, there's a human element in sports, and sometimes you just got to ride a feel. And if you're Mike O'Shea riding that feel, if he connects on that field goal, game over. It's done.
Yep.
2 scores down, game over. Cannot dispute that at all. So Khalil Pimpleton goes ahead. He returns at the length of the football field. And again, we've got a tie game. So what happens next is that, again, going against the analytics, Zach Collaros comes in, throws a deep shot, right? Really, when you've got a kicker with the leg of Castillo, you don't got to get many yards when you've returned the football back to your own 39-yard line. But he throws a deep shot, throws the interception. There you go. There's strike 2 against analytics. And then the third one is the Ottawa Red Blacks get the football back. And when you start that deep in your own territory with that little time left, the analytics say about, I think it was 22%, I believe. 22% of the time you're going to score on a drive of that nature with that little time left. And Bob Dice said, the heck with those analytics. We're going to throw a pass on first down. So he throws an incompletion. The clock stops. They run the ball on second down. Winnipeg uses their timeout, stops the clock again, get the football back, kick the winning field goal. So again, there you go, analytics. Take that, is what the coaches said last night, going with the feel, Ottawa feeling that they had some momentum. So that's why they wrote it out in that situation. And Mike O'Shea looking to put the nail in the coffin early by scoring that long field goal, neither of which worked for either team. So if you're like me and you just hate hearing analytics, well, there you go. They left the pitcher in for the extra batter last night.
I was on some of the fan sites yesterday after the game, and Bob Dice in his postgame said one thing, but Dustin Crum said another. So there was some confusion, and it looked like it on the sidelines too about some of the calls and when they went for it. So I don't think that they're on the same page. Until Ottawa, earlier in the day, I thought, until Ottawa can win 4 straight football games, 4 games in a row, I don't think you can trust the Ottawa Red Blacks either way, especially if you're a betting person, and I'm not, but you can't trust them. They're too all over the map. The other thing about the Bombers, they're 5-5. They have had to learn how to play and win with adversity. And last night was one of those games. Dave, did you think on that first down play that Zach Collaros was going to take off and run for almost 20 yards to get them into field goal range, and they completed another pass? No, but he did. He did exactly what I don't think anybody thought he was going to do.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Winnipeg Blue Bombers special, because they've got guys that know how to win. And you can't discount the Winnipeg Blue Bombers record aside. Again, you look at some of the bad luck they've had late in ball games, you can't discount that until they've gone ahead and proven that they can be beat, which I don't think that they have yet. They're right in the thick of things. The record may not indicate it, but they've got a couple of games back-to-back with the Saskatchewan Roughriders coming up that's going to make or break their season.
It's the adversity wins. And the Riders haven't faced a ton of adversity this year. It's not like they haven't had to earn it. There's no cakewalks or gimmies on the bingo card or whatever. But the Bombers are having to find these ways. That's the mark of a really good football team or a championship football team. Chips are down. We need something big. We just gave, most of the time, you'd be deflated if you gave up 117-yard missed field goal for a touchdown with 60 seconds left. That may just drain the team. But they didn't. It didn't stop them. They just kept trucking. And I know, 5-5. Durant said Monday, in the West Division, records don't matter. Anybody can beat anybody. It didn't matter when he played, and it doesn't matter now. I hope in Rider Nation, people will don't listen to us, listen to him. Don't get hung up on their 5-5. Okay? Because when they show up, it's probably going to be a dogfight. And if Collaros is willing to go sacrifice the body for a 20-yard run with a minute left in the fourth quarter, to me that says he's doing anything and everything to win.
Absolutely. And that shows you the importance of that ball game, by the way, to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last night in a nutshell. But also, before we paint the Ottawa Red Blacks with a brush, right? Let's face it, the team is different with Drew Brown at quarterback because he can do so many special things. And even the play that he got injured on, it was sensational how he was able to extend the play with his legs, chuck a pass, basically basketball style, like the old chest pass, and make a completion out of what should have been a 15-yard sack. And that's where I feel for the Ottawa Red Blacks is Drew Brown just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And that's got to be one of the most frustrating things if you're Sean Burke or if you're anyone in that Ottawa Red Black organization, because you can see the potential, you can see the what if, and you know your team is banged up. Your secondary is absolutely beat up right now and probably not going to get a lot better, as we have found out that Amari Henderson is done for the year at halfback for the Red Blacks this season. But man, it's going to be one of those what ifs, right? What if Drew Brown was able to stay healthy, and hopefully it's not a long-term injury that he sustained last night.
When Dustin Crum came in the game, I thought maybe they simplified things a little. He actually looked good. He was making the simple plays, the short stuff, letting the receivers run. Geno Lewis was really involved. I thought for coming in relief, he did well. Now, I'm not sure if it's the exact same playbook, Drew Brown, Dustin Crum, or something changed, but he looked like he was able to make some of the easier stuff that maybe Brown was struggling with while he was making the spectacular. Some of the mundane stuff wasn't coming.
Keep in mind, right? What does Trevor Harris coined the phrase yards after beatdown and points after beatdown? Did Winnipeg's defense let up a little bit? They were up by 17 points. Now, you wouldn't think with the outcome that they had the week prior that they would slow down at all. But, hey, you know what? We're up 17. We don't have to take a lot of chances here. We've got Dustin Crum coming in. We know he wants to use his legs. Maybe we ease off the gas pedal a little bit. It is kind of human nature after all. But I'm not saying that was the case. And I don't want to throw any shade on Dustin Crum because he's a hell of an athlete. But having said all of that, I wonder if there were some contributing factors to the performance that he had with the offense late in yesterday's game.
It was funny when we were talking to Suits yesterday, I had mentioned a guy like an Ian Holmes going to have a good game for the Bombers because they've got a lot of injuries, and he's a vet. So yeah, he got a pick. And I said, Tarek Wheatfall's got to be involved in the offense. And he had a bunch of catches. He didn't go off for like 125 yards or anything, but he was more involved than he had been for the Bomber offense. The Red Blacks finding ways to lose. And you know what? I said, you can't trust them. And Winnipeg being 5-5, it's the adversity of those 5 wins that they've had to go through to get them. And like you had mentioned, the sign of a good quality football team, they know how to win when it matters most. Do you have any thoughts on Edmonton, Ottawa tonight? Do you have any idea what teams may show up? Because they're head scratchers, both of them.
Yeah, Edmonton, Toronto is going to be an interesting matchup because I really believe that Toronto's season is on the line. And I know that we're before Labor Day and all of that fun stuff. But the fact is that there is a possibility that we could have a West-East crossover going into the playoffs this year. And if Toronto wants to keep their head above water in that game, they're going to have to come out and play. They haven't performed well, I don't believe, in continuity in all 3 phases. They just haven't clicked yet this year. They've showed glimpses of what they are and what they can be. I'll be curious whether or not they can get it together in Edmonton tonight. And Edmonton, for the Elks, it's desperation mode as well. And I hate using desperate because that sounds such like such a negative word, but for the Elks, they need to make a splash at home, right? Like, it's been tough sledding for the Elks at Commonwealth Stadium this year. Cody Fajardo is going to get the start, which, again, if you're following the Elks, it is such an interesting discussion amongst their fans. There are so many that are cheering for Trey Ford, but you look at what Cody Fajardo has put up the last couple of weeks in a loss to Saskatchewan and then a win last week in Montreal. Like, I would be hard pressed not to say that Cody Fajardo doesn't give you your best opportunity to win. So you come in tonight, I think there's a lot of pressure on both teams to get this win. And I think there's going to be a lot of different things that we see happen in this games as the teams are going to pull out all the stops, because this is an important one for both.
I was trying to think back, and maybe you can shed light on this. When the Saskatchewan Roughriders released the depth chart for tomorrow's football game, there are no changes from the week before. That little area is completely blank. Dave, when's the last time you saw a depth chart with the Saskatchewan Roughriders with 0 changes? I can't. In recent memory, I can't. Not one player in, not one player out.
No, and I know that the Riders were actually, the communications department today was fielding calls and emails. Is this a bad depth chart? Did something go wrong? Like, literally, they got those calls when it came out.
Yeah.
And I can't recall ever a time, whether it's performance-based or injury-based, that you had an opportunity to address the exact same roster. The Riders have that. So, yeah, you're right. It doesn't happen in football, seemingly, but it did this week for the Riders.
And if you're wondering, why aren't you guys covering the big Rider news? Craig Reynolds will join us after 4 o'clock to talk about the big announcement earlier today that next year, the Riders will play their home preseason game at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon. They had a big press conference at 10 this morning. And then during the regular season, because of World Cup soccer in Toronto, it's the Argonauts and the Riders. They'll play back-to-back. But that second game, the Argo home game, is actually going to be in Mosaic, correct?
Yes. And so basically, one point of clarification that I should make prior to Dan Clark holding the door open for me at Mosaic Stadium to enter the building today, I was stopped by a couple of fans who were quite concerned about the Toronto Argonauts having a home game at Mosaic Stadium. Now, the Argos are going to be playing the Saskatchewan Roughriders in that game. And the point of clarification is the Toronto Argonauts are not going to be moving into the Saskatchewan Roughrider dressing room and or facilities. So we can cross that off the list of concerns. That's not going to happen. But for the game up in Saskatoon, that's going to be a beauty.
A packed out Griffith Stadium, if you've never been there, is a very unique football experience. And one that I think will give a lot of people, maybe that don't ever come to Rider games, a chance to experience the product for themselves, which maybe translate into coming to a game in Regina, buying merch, going online, doing stuff. It's just another chance to say, thanks, Rider Nation, who are up north. Here's your chance to be part of what we do. Because you don't get it. Training camp is one thing, Dave, but there's nothing like the feeling, the aura, just the atmosphere of a game day for Rider football.
Absolutely. And you know what? As much sway as you may believe that I have 0. And I know your whole Pilsner Cup idea is out there and you were going to pitch it. Again, you do that. But if there's anything that I could request, just one thing, I would some way, somehow love to see the duplication of homecoming game for Huskies, because what happens during halftime at the homecoming game for the University of Saskatchewan Huskies is they have the running of the togas, where all the freshmen put on togas and run around the football field in various levels of sobriety. So if there was one request I would love to make, please bring the toga race.
Well, that could be part of the Pilsner Cup, but we're not writing Van Wilder 2 with Ryan Reynolds, okay? So listen, let's chat offline. Let's take, as the kids say, let's take this offline. I'll put that into the Pilsner Cup proposal or whatever. You can't have drunken players in togas. Yes, you can, but maybe not at this event.
It's not the players, it's the fans. It's the fans, Maz. You don't have a freshman quarterback running out into the field on a toga. It's the fans.
fans, it's even worse. You're going to get angry parents afterwards. You embarrass my son. All right, let's wrap this. We'll have a planning meeting. I'll set a Teams call for early next week. Hey.